Hey everyone, Prof here, and welcome to another Pokemon Masters video going over Neo Champion Elio and Dusk Necrozma's kit. I really like this one, I have to say. The shiny form looks absurdly cool, and I also waited with this video for a little bit because I wanted to wait for Poma Tools to update, and the interface is just perfect for videos like this. Anyway, enough of that, let's get into it. So let's look at the moves first, or let's actually look at the stats first. At level 150, we've got over 500 attack, 328 speed, so he's not the fastest, but we can increase that with the X roll here, sprint, and if we 6-star EX him, we're already getting much closer to 600 attack and over 400 speed, so gauge-wise it shouldn't be too bad. We've got Sunsteel Strike, and yeah, the bulk, it's middling, normal for a striker, I'd say. And yeah, going over the move, Sunsteel Strike. This is normally a lower powered move because it's a 3-gauge move, normally, due to the main character having Solgaleo, and that for some reason was a 3-gauge move before, so they had to... Spoiler alert, he gets hit the gas 5 in order to increase the base power. So we're looking at 165 base power, which still is pretty low, honestly, for a 4-gauge move, but it does have the innate piercing blows effect, ignoring these kind of damage reduction passives. So that's definitely useful for a lot of things like ultimate battles, legendary gauntlet, should be able to solo a bunch of legendary arena stages and contribute to some gimmick checks with ultimate battles, just with this innate effect alone. Okay, Morning Sun is basically a recover that is slightly influenced whenever there's weather up, but it's also not really going to be used since he has a passive that makes this automatically used, and in addition you also really kind of don't want to ever have this hit 0 MP due to another passive that we'll go over right away, which is with his big buddy move here, Solar Sunsteel Strike. So at 3 copies, it's got a power of 363, which is fantastic. At 5, it goes up to nearly 400. This is also clearly boosted by hit the gas. This is like typical of almost all sprint units that you can think of, like Ray and Neo Champion Silver, and I think Signasuit Lear. So basically, you get a big fat AOE buddy move that can be used once every sync cycle after a sync move, so it can't be used in the first cycle. Hits everyone just like his normal Sunsteel Strike. It ignores. It's got the innate piercing blow effect, and it reduces defense by 3 stat ranks. So if you use this move twice over the course of 3 sync cycles, you can utterly minimize the opponent's defense to -6. Further increasing Solgaleo's utility and power. But the really cool thing about this is that it sets the physical Alola circle for your team. And this is, I think, the first time that we, in theory, have a unit that can provide infinite circle, regardless of MP refresh and luck. So if your Morning Sun PP is 1 or higher, it'll set this circle. And basically, since you're not, how do I best put this? Okay, it's probably time to already look at the skills here because we need to talk about this. Limitless Power. No, that isn't it. No, here, Gentle Morning Sun. So it reduces the MP for the user's Morning Sun by 1 and grants all of the following effects when its HP drops to half or below. Restores the user's HP by 50% of its maximum HP and increases the user's physical moves up next effect by 2 ranks. So this is really similar to Coridon and Juliana's passive that automatically sets Sun when they use the buddy move. And this means that you don't actually have to spend a turn not dealing damage, which is really nice. And in this case, as soon as you go below half HP, you automatically use your Moonlight to bring you back up. So essentially, if a move wouldn't kill you in one hit, you can consider Necrozma to have 150% or like 50% more HP than it actually has here, or 100% total if you use 2 of these passive Morning Suns, basically. So he's actually really, really bulky, and as you can see also in his grid, he also does have endurance here, so that means that he's never going to get sniped in one shot, which is honestly kind of cool, I have to say, for some ultimate battles. It's a lot more survivable than these defenses might let on. But yeah, so this Alola Circle obviously stacks with his Alola Pride, since, yeah, Physical Master Fair. Look, damage, maximum power up of 50%, the more Alola units you have in your team. Here, maximum power up is 40%. So you already get a 90% DPS buff, 40% sync buff, just for having Alola units on your team, and setting the circle, which pretty cool, I have to say. Obviously he's got more damage increasing passive, but the bulk of it just really comes from this Pride and Circle working together. So yeah, let's have a look at the trainer move, because this also sets a circle. So it reduces the user's sync move count down by 2, leading into his sprint EX roll aspect, and increases the user's physical moves up next effect by 2 ranks. So yeah, he's got a lot of physical move up next on his kit. It also increases the user's sync move next effect by 3 ranks, and this synergizes really nicely as well with this grid node here. Hits sync move boost up 9, so just these two together, after using your trainer move and hitting the opponent once, you're going to have 5 stacks of sync move up next, but he gets more in his skills. But we'll look at that in a moment as well. Alola, yeah, basically just you get 1 use of Alola Physical that you can it's probably best to use this just before you sync, so that you've got this guaranteed Alola Circle before your sync move and your buddy move after you use your sync. And yeah, his sync move here, Dusk, Solar Eclipse, Sunsteel Strike, it has the innate effect, not of a damage buff, but that it also ignores, it's basically just piercing blows again. So he's never going to be hindered by stuff like Tough Skin or other damage reduction passives like, I can't even think of them right now. Robust Body or something like that. Fluid Fortification, these kinds of things you can just ignore, which is nice for fighting things like Latias and certain UBs. Alright, so now let's look at the other passives. Hit the Gas 5, we already mentioned. Powers up moves, makes moves cost more gauge. Fierce Entry 6, wonderful, don't need to spend any time. You can just immediately start hitting right away, because as you can see in the next passives, you're always going to crit, unless the opponent has crit shield up. The Piercing Blows aspect ignores Vigilance, if I'm not mistaken, but it won't ignore the field effect, the critical hit defense that some stages do set up. And this last part is one of my favorite parts about this unit's entire kit. Basically, when he syncs, he gives a free support EX, despite not having support EX. So you've got absolutely no downside to syncing with this guy. You've got the sync countdown with the X roll. You've got the hitting everyone due to the strike EX, due to it being a striker, and you get the support EX buff. So simply phenomenal. Kind of similar to Sigma Suit Steven in that way, in that it's a bit of all the EX rolls combined into one. Well, obviously not Tech and Field, but you've got 3 kind of EX effects rolled into one unit, which is really, really cool. Also really helps increases damage output, and obviously the entire team's damage output too. So for this next passive, we've got Limitless Power, and whenever an ally sets a circle, you increase your physical move up next effect by 2 ranks. So since he himself is doing a lot of a lot of circle setting, you're getting stacks of physical move up next. So that's straight up with this passive another 80% damage buff on DPS move, be it your normal Sunsteel Strike or your buddy move. It's probably best to try and maneuver this around to have this affect your buddy move rather than your normal move, since it's obviously so much stronger. But since it's the buddy move itself that sets this, it can be a little bit awkward to use for your buddy move. You might need to like skip an attacking turn, or like rely purely on sync move countdown, which he does a lot of, in order to get this move to affect his buddy move. But the nice thing is that it's when an ally applies a circle. So that's where we come to another kind of cool thing about Elio, and it's just using another circle user with him. That could be, I don't know, like another physical circle from another region, such as Champion Nate, although the synergy isn't really that great between them. But I'm more thinking the defensive circles that a lot of units have, like Neo Champion Bianca, who also like boosts her allies' power when the circle is up, and stuff like Volo, stuff like himself, the Stakataka variant of his, the Ultra Sun and Moon one. You could also, like, in theory, use the special circle with this guy as well, but he obviously doesn't really get benefit from that since it doesn't increase physical move damage, which is all he does. And then another passive here concerning the circle is he gives himself a big sync move boost. Each stack of this sync move up next effect is 10%, so 3 ranks is obviously a 30% damage buff. So you can really see how this starts to add up. You only obviously get the sync move up next effect once from his trainer move, but you can see every time he sets the circle, i.e. when he ever uses his buddy move, he gives himself 3 ranks. It's because he applies the circle. And whenever he hits someone with this node, it's another 2 ranks. So basically, these 2 things combined give you a 50% sync buff, which is really, really nice. But let's just have a wee look at the grid. It's a fairly simple grid, honestly. It's not the best one I've ever seen. I would almost always go for circle sync moves up next, since you're going to be syncing with this guy a lot. Even though his how do I say, sync isn't the greatest, I'd say, because like upon EX, only 2 effects activate. Only the striker effect activates once. Activates multiple times. The support EX effect from his passive and the sprint effect from his EX will only trigger once, obviously. So it's not like your tech with a strike EX roll effect where you're just constantly getting the benefit from the EX roll. But and this is also kind of a slightly awkward condition for his sync move with the circle, because it means that you kind of need to wait to use your buddy move just before you use your sync move in order to make sure that that this condition is in effect. Because unfortunately, across this guy's entire kit, while he might set circle in theory an infinite amount of times if your allies can keep him at high HP where he doesn't consume all his Moonlight PP passively, once he runs out of circle, because of having 0 Moonlight, 0 Morning Sun PP, that is indeed when he could, in theory, run out of circle. But as long as your allies have stuff like Potion, it should be fine. And you can trigger this once, this Gentle Morning Sun obviously once, since this effect of setting the circle is being tied to the buddy move when it only has, if it's 1 or higher, it doesn't need to be at 2 PP. But yeah, you want to be syncing with this guy, so I would definitely take his highest sync move passive. Yeah, and other than that, we see Furious Brawn up here, nice 30% boost to DPS and buddy move. I'd always take that, so I'd probably do something like this. I think these are his most important passives to get stronger syncs, and with 11 energy remaining, there's a couple of things you can do. Impervious is a fantastic one, since it means that you will never lose damage on your Furious Brawn should the enemy drop your attack for some reason, and it just obviously helps in a lot of stages that just debuff things like your defenses or your speed. Really nice against a lot of ultimate battles like Morgan. Then, other than that, we have this. We have the ability to just take another sync move node here, leaving 2 energy where you could just throw into like attack or something, just giving you a good solid sync move buff. I really like the thought of doing endurance here. This kind of does require co-op orbs to extend your energy for your grid. The benefit to endurance obviously being that you are guaranteed to keep your increased health bar essentially with the Gentle Morning Sun triggering passively. But if you have a teammate that can give Sogaleo endurance, like off the top of my head, I don't know, Signasuit Blue, or I think Arc Steven does this. I think other units like Sonya, I can't remember who gives endurance, unfortunately, but there's plenty of units that do that. So in that case, obviously, you wouldn't need this node. Other than that, some really interesting nodes are this ally set circle, free move next. This can help with solos, I'd say. This is something that you probably want to take for the Legendary Gauntlet if you're trying to solo a stage with him, just for gauge issues. Super Sync 9 for on-type stages is super nice because it means that you can use and it's not only the first time, you can use your buddy move with a super effective up next effect, which would make it really, really strong against, for example, ultimate battle stages weak to steel. Other options, Sand Shelter, not really interesting. Take super effective hit. This is obviously really nice should you be using Elio against a stage that it's weak to, and the weakness is dark. But I don't really know. I just use something else in that case, so not too interesting. Something I really hate about this grid is that this node here it's too expensive to get. Like, I think these are the three things that you really desperately want to have. You could, I guess, give up on Furious Brawn if you want to focus more on sync damage rather than the DPS. Since it obviously affects your whole team, other units that he's paired with will really appreciate this, such as Annie Lily, and let's just get into talking about possible teammates for this guy. Arc Steven is the obvious one, being a steel damage dealer, providing double steel rebuff, and all the wonderful things that Arc Steven does. It's a bit of a no-brainer, but this guy also really, really loves having Alola teammates, and that should be pretty obvious based off his Alola Pride and his physical Alola Circle. There are actually a bunch of good Alola Steel teammates that you could use. One of the first ones that comes to mind is one of the other Solgaleo units in Annie Lily, 2024 Annie Lily, who gives this guy Steel Zone, which is phenomenal, obviously, for his increased damage output. And also just like synergizes really nicely with it being another sprint unit, and also having the piercing blows effect, hitting AoE every other DPS turn with the Sunray's Sunsteel Strike buddy move. Other ones are special costume Celine with the Scizor. She gives a ridiculous amount of Steel Zone, so that's just never going to run out. And just also being another physical steel Alola damage dealer that can flinch lock opponents after she's synced. With her buddy move, the Bullet Punch with the guaranteed sync, and that constantly refreshes under Steel Zone. Other ones just like if you want a support, an Alolan support, let's just have a quick look, because I'm noticing that when talking, I forget a lot of the Alola units. Okay, so let's have a filter for Alola just here. Close, apply, and there we go. Okay, so basically none of these. Logical Adion, kind of cool, honestly, kind of nifty for some stages with the haze. These guys all not very relevant. Guzma as a support that can drop stuff. Annabelle sets a lot of field effects. Circle, unfortunately, isn't one of them. So she doesn't really help out in what Elio really wants here. Celine also doesn't really benefit from this. Obviously, this is one that we've already talked about. Kimono Grimsley is another good steel damage dealer from Alola that will benefit a lot from the Alola Pride and the Alola Physical Circle, since his DPS is a bit lacking. But it's it's still a very decent damage dealer, I'd say. Ilima can AoE drop defenses, doesn't really provide a circle, but doesn't really contribute too much aside from that. Lily here, also not too much synergy, being a special attacker and all. Here's at least another Alola support, but I don't think there's much synergy here. Kukui drops defenses, but it's rather slow, more suited to a sand team. Lana, nice in some ultimate battles, of course, with the max guard. Silvally is essentially another, he just got buffed, he's essentially another steel damage dealer that you can use with Elio, on type, obviously. Actually got really, really strong. I like that. Tapu Bulu is a really cool one because it's a support that constantly gives more physical moves up next, and due to you also wanting to use a Steel Zone setter with Elio, Tapu Bulu also has that nice passive that gives physical moves up next whenever a weather terrain or zone is set. So aside from her own sun and grassy terrain, Steel Zone can coexist with those at the same time, giving just like constant physical moves up next, each stack of which is a 40% damage buff, which is really nice. We've already talked about Lily here, great partner. The other Dusk main Necrozma, not really a good partner, even though, because it's a special unit, but you could, I guess, for aesthetic purposes. Same here with Gladion. This Elio is honestly a really cool support since he sets his Alola Solidarity, that's what it was called, yeah. Just provides Elio with more provides Neo Champion Elio with more circles, helping increase his damage overall and ensuring that he'll always have his sync multiplier, and it's just a good support in general. The issue with this is that it sets a rock zone, which can kind of compete with the steel zone that you want to set with this guy. But then otherwise, just like other supports like Argenta, even if she doesn't, she also constantly provides the physical moves up next, and just other supports that can set circle. But I would try and have either Steel Rebuff with Arc Steven or Steel Zone with this guy. So he kind of wants rebuff, he wants extra circles, and he wants Steel Zone to increase his damage. But yeah, that's enough for... Oh no, actually, you know what? There's something I knew I forgot to talk about, which was his 4 and 5 nodes. At 4 out of 5, if you want to grid this guy up that much, he gets the Trainer Sync Redemption 1, which is totally decent since he does have a good trainer move. It's an extra circle that you can apply at will. It's a sync count down by 2 plus the 1 of actually using it, so that's a whole turn basically skipped. And the physical move up next effect, so just obviously really nice to have if you can use this before a buddy move. His 5 out of 5 is the ally sets circle. It's just basically another AoE P-Moon up next for your entire team, which is really nice with physical damage dealers as allies. Good nodes for sure, but I don't think they're personally worth bringing this guy to 5 out of 5 unless he's an absolute favorite. But yeah, okay, I think I've covered everything about him. Here's his theme skills. Sorry it was a bit rambly. I'll be getting used to talking into the microphone and camera like this. It's not really something I'm used to, but yeah, take care, and I'll see you for the next video covering Celine.